You're watching the main morning news with me, James Chow. We're live in Beijing with just gone Thursday, 8 a.m. Thanks for joining us. Let's go to our lead story. Chinese President Hu Jintao and US leader Barack Obama have agreed to work together to build a positive and comprehensive relationship through the 21st century. The two men were meeting in London on Wednesday ahead of the G20 Summit. It was their first face-to-face talk since Obama took office in January this year. Zhang Yajing has that story.
Meeting on the sidelines of Thursday's G20 Summit in London, President Hu Jintao praised China-US ties, saying they have gotten off to a good start since the new US administration came into office. During their talks, the two sides reached consensus on the future of China-US relations in the new era and on the establishment of China-US Strategic and Economic Dialogues mechanism. The first round of the dialogues will begin in Washington this summer. President Hu Jintao designated Vice Premier Wang Qishan and State Councillor Dai Bingguo to serve as China's special representatives for the dialogues. Meanwhile, President Obama named Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner as his special representatives. President Hu Jintao says China is willing to work with the U.S. to make greater progress in advancing bilateral relations. He says it is more important than ever to further develop Sino-U.S. ties in the midst of the spreading global financial crisis, as well as various mounting challenges. Hu Jintao also says he hopes to establish a good working relationship and personal friendship with Obama. Obama noted that bilateral relations between the countries have become extremely constructive. He said strong ties are not only important for citizens in both countries, but also help to set the stage for how the world deals with new challenges. The leaders also exchanged views on major issues concerning Taiwan and Tibet. The U.S. expressed its positive attitude on these issues. President Hu has invited President Obama to visit China in the second half of 2009, and Obama accepted the invitation with pleasure. Zhang Yajing, CCTV.
Now, those talks in London were a first for Barack Obama and Hu Jintao. As we see now, the American and Chinese presidents discuss political and strategic concerns, but Mani has this story now on their economic ties.
The meeting comes against the backdrop of the economic crisis, but they also provide an opportunity to set a new direction for China-US ties. The U.S. is China's biggest customer for exports, and China is the largest holder of U.S. Treasury bonds. Two-way trade volume has surged from $2.4 billion in 1979 to more than $300 billion in 2007. The economic interdependence shared by the U.S. and China requires cooperation between both sides.
The potential for economic cooperation between the two countries is huge, especially after the G20 Summit. China once needed the American market and its cooperation more than America needed China. But today, the U.S. needs China's cooperation as much as China needs the U.S.
In 2009, China and the United States are marking the 30th anniversary of bilateral ties. Over the years, U.S. policy towards China has been evolving from containment to engagement. There are now more than 60 dialogue and cooperation mechanisms between the two countries. One of the most important is the strategic dialogue and the strategic economic dialogue. But going forward, a broader agenda is on the horizon for China and the U.S. The DPRK nuclear issue, the war on terror in Afghanistan and Pakistan, climate change, and other issues of common concern all require deeper cooperation.
The agenda between China and the U.S. is broad and can't be summarized with several sentences. The deep reason is that the world is changing and the status of countries is changing. A single country cannot solve the world problems alone.
But there are new challenges arising as ties escalate between countries. A recent report on China's military power in the U.S. has thrown new obstacles in the way of restoring defense ties between the two countries. Analysts say that although difficulties and challenges lie ahead, the overview outlook for bilateral relations is positive. And the ongoing financial crisis is making it necessary to expand cooperation and create new fields and channels to push it forward. Ma Ning, CCTV.